Hello and welcome to South Asia Chat, a podcast series brought to you by the Institute of South Asian Studies at the National University of Singapore. I'm your host, John Vater, a research associate and an editor at the Institute. With me today is Dr. Dil Rahut, Senior Research Fellow and Economist at the Asian Development Bank Institute. In this episode of our South Asia Outlook series, Dr. Rahut shares his expertise on Bhutan's economic recovery amid the pandemic, addressing trade connectivity with India, as well as the deleterious effects of climate change on the Himalayan kingdom. Both hydropower and tourism are critical resources for Bhutan's economy. Among other things, he touches on prospects for regional cross-border power cooperation and new trails Bhutan is blazing in tourism. One underlying theme is Bhutan's push for sustainability. Along with assessing the boon of new technologies to the greening of Bhutan's economic sectors, he will share his views on the evolving profile of Bhutan's large and young globalising population and how it stands to affect Bhutan's external relationships. Dr. Rahut, welcome to South Asia Chat.
Thank you, John. It's my pleasure.
So Bhutan has really had a remarkable vaccination campaign. By the end of July 2021, it had vaccinated 90% of its eligible adult population within just 7 days. And I believe UNICEF celebrated this as arguably the fastest vaccination campaign to be executed during the pandemic. Still, Bhutan, like most economies worldwide, has been hit hard by COVID-19. There have been supply disruptions as well as material and labor shortages, which have affected the government's target capital expenditures. But there are some positive signals. For instance, Bhutan's trade with India has more than doubled between 2014 and 2015 and 2020-2021. And just in November last year, both governments agreed to open 7 new entry and exit points to further increase trade and connectivity. How would you assess the health of Bhutan's economic recovery and progress moving into 2022?
As you rightly said, that Bhutan has made a significant progress in terms of fight against COVID. I think it's to do with the leadership that we have in Bhutan. Under the king, the monarch, I think we are very united, and we take the message from His Majesty the King very seriously, and he has really worked very hard to travel across the kingdom, trying to talk to people, try to sensitize how COVID can, destabilize a small country like Bhutan. So that's one of the key things that we have in Bhutan. And secondly, like when vaccination was brought in and rolled out, I think everybody was very positive. Every citizen went forward to take vaccinations, unlike other countries where there was denial to take vaccinations. I think that's to do with the leadership, and that's to do with the culture that we have brought up. And that's also to do with the positive attitude that we have and the faith that we have on modern medicines and technological innovations. Having said that, we are not immune to the effect of this COVID-19. Like any other countries, we have been hit very hard in terms of the tourism has almost zeroed down, which is a major source of revenue. Despite that, I think we continued working very closely with India. As a result, as you clearly said, that our export actually grew and strengthened in the sense that the only option that we had in this COVID pandemic was to trade more with India, and hydropower continued to stay same. It was not affected, although like many of our Bhutanese lost their jobs. But the good thing is, despite losing the jobs, despite lockdown affecting Bhutanese community in terms of revenue from tourism, I think there's empathy, the feeling of empathy in Bhutan, and there's a cohesion. There is a feeling of oneness actually that helped Bhutanese cope up with the shocks of COVID. Whether it's mental, whether it's economic, whether it's physical. So Yeah, thanks. I would really like I really like to thank the government and moreover the current government that we have under Dr. Lote Chiring. I mean, like he himself is a doctor and he's aware of the consequences of COVID and he has really worked hard. I think he himself has come up and taken the COVID shot. So all those things really help Bhutan to face this challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Societal cohesion is a factor which sometimes is maybe not discussed enough and as a critical tool in combating the pandemic. And in some ways, we might say that COVID-19 is kind of like a natural disaster. And you yourself have written on the effects of climate change in Asia, such as changing temperatures and how that will affect patterns of rainfall and glacier ice melt. In one op-ed, you emphasized how regional cooperation for climate change mitigation is actually needed. And you referenced electricity markets and regional cooperation on cross-border power trade. Hydropower, as you just have recently shared, is very important to India and Bhutan's bilateral relations, and larger sub-regional ideas for water resource management between Bhutan, Nepal, India, Bangladesh, and others have also been floated as one means of facilitating stronger regional economic integration. So could you perhaps speak to us on how Bhutan is navigating the prospects and challenges of cross-border power trade, while at the same time addressing some of the pressing environmental concerns that come along with it?
As you know, I mean, like the climate change is a great threat to the humanity. The global greenhouse gas emissions has increased tremendously over last 100 years. You can see how it has increased, and all the stakeholders across the world has really realized the need to cut down the greenhouse gas emissions. Well, the greenhouse gas emissions has been increasing for most of the countries, but Bhutan has remained carbon neutral. I think this is to do with as I always said, that this is to do with our leadership. This is to do with the visions of our leaders, where we have paid lots of attention on our forest, where we have paid attention on undue consumptions of goods, which is harmful to the nature. So that has really helped us to remain carbon negative. And if you look at the constitution, it's also enshrined that Bhutan will continue to keep forest covers more than 60%. So it's not only the effort of the government, but also it's an individual effort to keep these resources for our generations to come. That has really helped us to be carbon neutral. And although I mean, like, we are carbon neutral, we are not immune to the effect of climate change. As you know, there are lots of glacial lakes which can burst anytime. The agriculture production pattern has changed over a period of time. We have been, there has been lots of pests and diseases which is infecting our crops. So the food security itself has been threatened. And as you know, this hydropower is dependent on water resources, and with climate change, water resources can fluctuate. As a result, electricity production can decrease, and threaten the sustainability of hydropower projects. But despite that, we have made very significant effort in harnessing the hydropower. Most of our hydropowers are from run of the river, so which is very environmentally friendly. And by producing this hydropower, almost 90% is exported. So as a result, what's happening is that we are able to displace carbon, coal use in India, coal use, maybe we should Nepal and Bhutan should work also with Bangladesh, India, and help in, removing this coal use, which can help in reducing GHG emissions from India. At times, I feel that if Bhutan and Nepal are able to, generate all the hydropower, we would make a significant contributions and help in replacing carbon charcoal use in India. So that's something that I always look forward to. And on the other hand, we also generate revenue for our country, and hydropower is one of the largest source of revenue for Bhutan. And it's not only we have lots of projects with India. We have a very good bilateral relationship, but if you look at Bangladesh, also it has huge populations, and there's shortage of fuel, clean fuel. So having collaboration with them can also help Bangladesh in its missions to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 7. That's providing access to clean and affordable sources of energy. And we have to work as a region, not as an individual. The fight against climate change is not cannot be achieved if we make an individual effort. But we have to come together. We have to work together and save our planet.
Yeah, I really like the fact that you're really thinking big and, not just in terms of the transactional element, but how, through collaboration with places like Nepal, hydropower also has the ability to help some of these other neighboring countries meet their own climate goals. So there's a net positive benefit that comes with it. We'll come back to the question of sustainability later, but I briefly want to pivot to another critical engine of Bhutan's economy, which is tourism. In March 2020, the tourism industry in Bhutan began to face many restrictions. And I saw that a report on overcoming COVID-19 in Bhutan was recently published by ADB in December 2021, which looks in particular at Bhutan's dependency on tourism. So the report pointed out that the pandemic presents actually a unique opportunity for Bhutan's long-term potential in this area by, quote, tapping into the underexplored domestic tourism segment, including pilgrimages, along with prospects of bubble tourism as alternatives worth exploring. Just the other day, a news item came out which talked about the reopening of the Trans-Bhutan Trail after 60 years in March 2022. So can you perhaps tell us about the health of the tourism sector and some of the latest developments there?
Yes, John. You see, tourism is a sector that's so much dependent on this COVID. As a result of COVID, we have to lock down, and Bhutan could not afford to open up, in the sense that we are very small populations. And unlike big countries, we don't have that big hospital capacity. So as a result, we really had to, I think Bhutan had to lock down, and it was a good decision. Otherwise, we are a small populations with, we don't have capacity to house so many people who could get sick. So it was a very good decision. Although, it has affected our tourism sector significantly. Almost zero tourisms. And domestic tourisms, although there's an options, but I don't think it can be big. We're a small country of 800,000 population. So with such a small populations, I don't think domestic tourism would really take off. And also, as a Bhutanese, we have been always traveling. It's a small country, so we know almost every place is, and we have been traveling. So it doesn't become tourist attractions to Bhutanese. So the only option is to have international tourists and maybe regional tourisms, in the sense that, India, China, Bangladesh, Singapore, Thailand. So attracting tourists from within Asia can be a very good options because of pilgrimage, the beautiful climate, beautiful valleys, and good people would really definitely attract people from this part of the world, beside Europeans and American tourists. So that's really good. And the policy of high value, low volume, I think that's really, really good. With this policy, we are able to take care of our natural environment. We didn't want to really spoil what we have. So that also helps us to get tourists who are really interested in tourism. We want people to come and really enjoy and enjoy the beauty of our country, and take back those beautiful memories with them. So that's also the reason why we went for high value and low volume. And maybe post-COVID, with the new trail opening, the tourism will grow, and it will be a source of employment for many of our youth. And and also like it's a pride for us because like people would like to come to visit our country, Besides revenue generations, I think it also gives us lots of joys to see that there's so much of interest in our nations that people would like to come and visit us. So it's a combination of both. Though COVID has not been good for us, John, and we have to acknowledge that tourism industry has suffered badly, which includes hotels, which includes transportation sectors, the do care.
And it really is the natural beauty of Bhutan's landscape that attracts so many from the region and the world to visit Bhutan. And in this sense, it intersects with the greening of different economic sectors and the long-term goal of sustainability. In addition to the hydropower sector, which you overviewed for us, in your academic writings, you've also discussed about the importance of the greening of other sectors like transport, construction, and agriculture. And the quality, of course, of existing infrastructure plays a strong role here. So how is Bhutan taking advantage of the different currents of globalization and technological change to advance these sustainability goals?
Yes, John. If you look at Bhutan, we are a small country with small populations, young populations, but very dynamic, well educated, well trained. Most of our fellow countrymen have really gone abroad, to educate themselves and have come back. So, we cannot immune ourselves from globalization. We have to move, even if we cannot move at par, but we have to move hand in hand with the changes that we are seeing around the world, with new technology, new innovations. So if you look at agriculture sectors, Bhutan has great potential within agriculture sectors in the sense that, we're in the Himalayas, we are going for organic agricultures. So with new technology and demands for high value food products, organic food products, I'm sure Bhutan will be able to enter these niche markets where there's a demand for organic, high value, less pesticides use food. So that's where I think we can play a very important role, and we should really take advantage of technological innovations having there, and also IT technology like AI and machine learnings and all those things. So we as a Bhutanese, we have to really invest on our youth. We really have to train our youth in this new technology, because this and also COVID has taught us that we don't need to be in the city or somewhere to provide our services, right? We can be anywhere in the world. So taking lessons from COVID, we could have an agriculture sectors, we could sit in Bhutan and really serve the needs of different countries in terms of new technological development. So one of the biggest challenge and need for Bhutan is to really invest on our youth, to generate to learn this new technology, new innovations, and then sit in Bhutan and then provide the service to other part of the world.
And to follow up on this observation, the youth demographic in Bhutan is very high, and as you mentioned, they're going abroad, studying at foreign universities, coming back and bringing a wealth of knowledge. At the same time, because of the exposure to globalization, some of the social profile, in terms of consumptive behavior, preferences, aspirations of the youth is also changing. So do you see some of these social changes at all affecting Bhutan's relationships with other countries in the region, or even outside of the region, other countries in Asia or the West?
I don't think so, but having traveled outside, I think it will give better perspective of those countries. You see, for me, I have lived in different parts of the world. So I have lived in India for a long time. As a result, I have made very good friends with many Indians. So which means that I'm able to work with India. I'm able to relate with Indians. So I'm able to appreciate their culture. I have lived in, I have many friends from China, so I have been able to, work with them. I write paper with my friends, Chinese friends. We discuss lots of things. So I think it brings us together. I lived in Ethiopia and Kenya, so I have lots of friends there. I've looked into their views, the way they think, and I have learned to appreciate them. I have learned to live with them. I have learned to pray for them. I mean, if I lived in Mexico, I have seen Latin America very well. So I think it has brought us together. We have started. There's a feeling of oneness. We are one world. We are one planet. We all need to work together. And through this kind of relationship, traveling outside, studying outside, I think it will bring Bhutan into global map very strongly, very prominently. My friends that I met have already appreciated Bhutan. They always wanted to visit Bhutan, and they always like the way we are doing things. So I think it's a very, I think it has lots of positive benefits. And you see, when we go back home, if you look at Bhutan, Bhutan is a small country, and if anything that we do, everybody will get to know. So there is a social pressures for us to have empathy, to live a life of dignity, and also our leaders have shown the needs to be mindful of others and of the country. You see, so it's a very interesting blend that Bhutanese are able to travel outside and come back and live in Bhutan.
And one tangible benefit, of course, is the fact that you're speaking with us now, sharing your expertise and experience, having worked in many countries and engaged with many peoples. So thank you so much, Dr. Rahut, for joining us on South Asia Chat. And we in Singapore stand to be tremendously benefited from your insights.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you for giving me opportunity. And it was my pleasure to hear your views and to listen to your questions that you had on Bhutan. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.